Hello and welcome everybody to our podcast. My name is Don Pacella.
And I'm Angela Pacella, and we're with the Pacella Real Estate Group.
And this is Welcome to Livingston, our podcast where we talk all Livingston County and we invite local businesses to come in and tell us a little bit about themselves and about the products that they have. And we are really services, yes. Yeah. So we are really excited about our guest today. Today we have CGC Water Treatment with us. So welcome Trisia and Mark. Thanks for coming in today.
Trisia Gowing and Mark Keller.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thanks for having us.
So I guess a place to start off is just tell us a little bit about yourselves, a little bit about the company and what you guys supply.
Both of you have been there a long time too.
We have. I actually just celebrated my tenure with the company back in March, which is pretty crazy to think that it's gone so quickly, but it's been a blessing. Those 10 years have been amazing, and I'm very grateful to be here for 10 years in such a great company.
Great. And then, Mark, you said that you were there.
I've been there probably one of the longest. Since 1996. Started in the service department down in our Jacksonville, Florida office. And then my wife and I got married and wanted to move closer to family. We were from Ohio originally, so moved back to Ohio. And then I moved here in November of 2003. And I was service manager. Worked on installing and servicing water softeners and purifiers and anything that took. And then about when COVID hit, we were double duty and we had some older sales department. And so I was doing leads. I'd run out and test water and give quotes and stuff like that. And then I just do that full time now.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
And for, the territory of Livingston County too, which
Yes.
is kind of sort of our base here with Welcome to Livingston. So
Thank you.
good to know you.
This is an important topic for us, especially being realtors, being homeowners, and having gone from city water to well water. What we find is a lot of our clients, that's one of the first questions I ask them when we're going to look at homes. It's like, have you ever been on well water before? And if they haven't, it's there's a conversation that needs to happen there.
Absolutely.
Expectations, yeah, for sure.
Yes. So I guess to start off, why don't you tell us, what types of services do you provide? What do people need to know?
Yeah, that's a great question. In Livingston County, it's such a great community, but unfortunately our water is not the greatest. Even the city water is required to do certain things with their water to make it acceptable for the consumers, but it's kind of lies on our shoulders to make sure that if we want it to be even better than that, purified for drinking quality and things like that, that we get it tested and looked at and look at our options. But so like Mark was saying, we do offer free water testing for anybody that's having concerns moving in the area, or maybe they even have an existing system and they're noticing some new problems and they're not sure what's going on. And that's why the free test is so valuable, is to really educate a customer about what they're dealing with before they make decisions. We also provide services for existing equipment people might have in their house. We can fix and service any other system that someone might have. We can do salt delivery. We can do 5-gallon jug water deliveries for companies or for homes or apartments. So we have a lot of different areas, and we also have a plumbing business within our CGC Water company. We have a 25-year master plumber on board, so we have plumbing needs as well. So we extended beyond just water treatment.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how often, I guess it's a tough question, but how often should someone be getting their water tested?
I recommend yearly. We can check it for a lot of different things. So if your softener is not set right, if your well water's changed, or the amount of people living there has changed, you have to set these things to handle that environment. So
right.
You're getting it just checked, and we offer it a couple different ways. People can bring their water to us and get a free water test at our offices, or we can come out to the home and test the water.
Right.
There's a service program also that we offer where we come out, deliver the salt, check the water, do a tune-up.
Wonderful. Yeah, because, one of the things that I learned being in real estate is, you can have a bee's nest underneath the cap of your well, and now you have bacteria in the well. Yes. And, you think it's a closed system, but it's not always a closed system. So just because your water was good a year ago doesn't mean it's good today. And it's nothing that you did wrong. It's, the person that's mowing your lawn, rammed into the side of the wellhead, and now you got debris down in there, and now you have bacteria in your water.
Sure. And groundwater changes all the time. You know,
Right.
if you have a farm, you're living next to a farm and they're using pesticides and stuff, that can seep into your groundwater and then eventually make it to wells in the surrounding area.
Wow. That's a great point because there are a lot of farms in the area.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
People put fertilizers and weed killers and everything else on the ground, and then just road runoff from vehicles. I mean, all that stuff. A little bit of all that gets in our water. So
Right.
reverse osmosis is how we treat all the chemical removal. And then for the house, people have sulfur. You probably, like, my water stinks, right? So we treat that. We use ultraviolet light is one of the things we'll do.
We wanted to ask about this.
Yeah.
How does the UV lighting system work?
UV light, water goes through a stainless steel canister. On the inside of that canister, as it's traveling through a cylinder, there's a bulb in there, and the light kills the bacteria and viruses so that you're drinking bacteria-free water.
Okay.
You bathe in it, you just run it through the whole home that way.
Right.
If they're on a well, typically we do that because it's just a nice safeguard and relatively inexpensive, and you just have a peace of mind that nobody's going to get sick from drinking the water.
Right. Got you. So you guys doing so much business in Livingston County, when you go out to test someone's water, based on where it is within the county, do you usually have an idea of what to expect, or
I do.
can it vary next door neighbors?
You can have two wells right next to each other and have two totally different water chemistries coming out because underground or like above ground rivers, you have the same thing underground. So you can hit different depths, hit different water.
Right.
The minimum requirement for a well is typically 45 feet so that you're not getting groundwater contaminants. I mean, surface water into the drinking water. Bacteria normally doesn't thrive down there, but like you said, ants, earwigs, and all that fall down in the wells, create bacteria, and it just multiplies, right? So we chlorinate wells, we do pressure tanks, we do the water treatment. There's a lot of things to answer your question, when I go out to a home, I interview them. What is it that you need? What is your concerns? What's going on? And then I do a full line of testing. Arsenic is a big one for.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
You probably hear about. It's a common test, right? They do
Right.
bacteria, arsenic. Some will do some other testing, but those are some of the big ones up in my house where I live, I have a ton of arsenic. And right now with this dry summer we've had, my arsenic's almost out of the well, it's almost nothing there. But come wintertime when we get a lot of rain and water, I may have more. It's naturally occurring out of the ground. And it's in Livingston County too. So I test for arsenic on all of our water tests.
Yep.
It's part of the
We
free
do an
test.
on-site test, and right
Nice.
there. You'll get the results right then. You don't have to wait.
Oh, you don't have to wait the 2-3 days to get it back?
We do it right on site. So
great.
for realtors, I love
Yeah.
going out there, and at least people buying the home or selling the home is going to have an idea what's going to happen when their state test comes back.
Yeah, I
Right.
can't tell you how many times we're like, okay, we've negotiated the inspection, but we are still waiting for the water test. It's
Nope,
like
we do that right out
Yep.
of the gate. So
Nice.
Instant
Nice.
results.
Yep. And I know also some people think, I'm on a community well within a subdivision, or I'm on city water within an area. Well, that they think that means that they don't have to treat the water, where sometimes that's not the case.
I'll be honest, the city does the very best they can with what they're dealt with, but they take the groundwater.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's very hard. Hardness is good for us. Calcium, magnesium, those are good minerals, but the water softener takes those out. But they're horrible for the house. Hardness minerals destroy everything. And here in this Livingston County area, most of them are over 20 grains hard. Anything over 10.5 is extremely hard. So your Detroit City Water is about 6. They get it from the lake, which has all of its own issues with the runoff of Michigan going into the lake, so with like chemicals and stuff like that. But the arsenic is a big one, and just the total dissolved solids, and then the hardness. So we treat for all that. We remove the hardness throughout the whole house, and then use reverse osmosis to get the water to bottled water.
Right. So those reverse osmosis that they have at the kitchen sinks that are going into the fridge sometimes and such.
Yep, we hook it to the refrigerator, so your ice cubes are crystal clear. You get no more. You don't need the filters for the refrigerator anymore because they're not doing much. So it's good to have purified water going to them, and literally your ice is crystal clear. I mean, it's pretty neat.
So on that, how often should people be changing their filters? Because a lot of people, they have the fridge filter, they have a reverse osmosis system, but once it gets in, out of sight, out of mind, right?
Well, what's really, really nice about the Kinetico, they're on top of things. their reverse osmosis has a meter on it. It measures gallons. So it's certified for 500 gallons between filter changes. So you don't have to guess. You don't have to be like, every 6 months I got to change my filters, or every year. Little old lady by herself may use 500 gallons, may take her 3 or 4 years, 5 years, right? So you don't change your filters too soon. You don't do it too late. You know, it tells you when. It'll actually shut the flow down when it's time. So alerts you, hey, it's time to get your filters changed. So it's really, really neat. And they have a virus guard on the Kinetico reverse osmosis. So even if you were to have a UV light, it's still a second layer of protection against bacteria. So they're really neat.
Right. And you don't usually see that on the fridge filters. You know, it's a guessing game of when you need to change those. And a lot of them aren't even removing the contaminants that people believe that they are. So it's the reverse osmosis systems are life-changing. Cooking with them for your animals, plants, anything you care about, that's what you're putting the water in. You want to make sure you're giving them good water and clean water.
What's one of our statements that we make is like, if you don't filter your water and you drink it, you become the filter.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? So,
It's
it's nice to have that sense of peace of mind. Just,
you
got
that
good
what
drink,
you
and
put
it tastes
into your
good.
body.
It really tastes good.
No, and we have a reverse osmosis in our house. So like, you know, while our water goes through the softener and it's good and everything, you know, if I like get up in the middle of the night and I get a little bit of water out of the bathroom sink, it's a very different flavor that I'm getting out of the reverse osmosis in the kitchen.
You get conditioned to it. I mean, when people's filter goes down, it's like an emergency. It's like 1-800 Mark Keller. I need filters.
Exactly. So I had a question with that, Mark, of like, how quickly can somebody get a system put in? Like, how far out do you guys book?
I'm typically next day for an appointment. I mean, I can get out there quickly, test the water, and then we're within a week to get it installed. So Kinetico is manufactured right in Newberry, Ohio. They're our neighbors.
Super close.
So it's been there since the 70s, and we haven't ran out of stuff. I mean, it's crazy. It's nice having a nice American-made product, and it's very high quality.
Yeah, and one of the questions I wanted to ask about filters again for the whole systems. So one of the things that we'll see in real estate that I'll come in with our inspector, and the house has a problem with pressure, and he'll go downstairs and he'll hit the bypass that bypasses the filter. All of a sudden, there's no problem anymore. So what advice do you give when you're installing the system with those inline filters for the system?
Great question. And that can vary, right? Because 2 different wells next to each other could have 2 different waters. But the average is 3 months on a whole house filter. But if you start noticing pressure drop, and it's so slowly, it creeps up on people. They don't realize they're losing pressure until they change it. And like, wow, my pressure's back. You know, if somebody's good way to test it. If you're in the shower and somebody flushed the toilet and you're like, where's the water? You know what I mean? That's signs that your filter is way past due. So some people have to change their filters weekly, monthly, you know. And if that happens, we have an automatic iron odor filter that cleans itself after you use 500 gallons of whole house water. So it might every day it cleans itself, and you don't have to go down and change filters. So that's another neat product that we offer. Yeah.
So how often are you going into houses that they have systems and there's a new owner to the house and you're coming in to check it out and you're like, they've had the wrong system for, you know, who knows how long.
Extended period of time, right?
I see that a lot where they're not covering all the issues. So when I go into a home, I find out what the issues are. Do you have sulfur, iron, manganese, you know, hardness, total dissolved solids, arsenic? We check all that. And now it's like, okay, what are we treating? Some people just have a Home Depot off-the-shelf softener, which does okay for getting the hardness and iron out, but then they have odor in the water, so we can come in and help them with that. But it's pretty much, it starts with the water test, and then what's your concern? Some people's standards are here with their water, and some people's are way up here, and you just have to meet the people where they're at, and then find out what we can do to serve them and help them.
Yeah, no, we've had clients who, like, you know, they want beyond the top of the line
and
system,
we do whole house arsenic treatment too. So
Yes.
that's a big. I have, like I said, a ton of arsenic in my house. So my iron odor automatic backwashing filter that I don't have to go down and change. I mean, I've done it for my whole life, right? Change filters, but if you don't have to, it sure is nice. So this automatic one does it, but it also removes the arsenic in my house for anything coming in, so it stops the bleeding. But right now, I was telling you, my arsenic's not even coming out of my well, and I think it's just due to the dry summer we had. It's happened about 5 years ago. We had a summer of just every day was a great boating day for the summer.
Yeah.
No rain. You know, I've only mowed the grass 4 times this year. I mean, it's been a dry summer, and my arsenic has been really low. Always monitor it.
Right. I've never even thought about how the seasonality or how the weather
It
affects
changes
your water. That's
atmospheric pressures between winter and summer and spring and fall. Water tables are doing this, so up and down they're changing. So you get different water supplies. So we try to find the worst that the water is and set the equipment to handle that, and you're covered.
Yeah, that's why we customize, and that's why the free water test is so important. So we can listen to the client of what their actual needs and concerns are, and then what their water test at, and have those conversations with them. Because not every person wants the same quality of water. They're, like Mark was saying, the standard is different, and we want to make sure we can customize based on what they're looking for and what their needs and wants are too. So listening to the client is very important.
Well, and it's interesting, like the long-term effects that bad water can have. So like, our house we got into 2 years ago, they had a calcium problem. Mm-hmm. So there was calcium buildup in the line underneath the shower. And that's why water was backing up in the shower. It was because the water wasn't soft enough, or they weren't taking it out. And then you had the buildup of that. So, what I'm hearing from you guys is like, what percentage of your guys' job is educating your people?
It's probably 98% of my job. I mean, it's getting the information, and I love educating. When I go into a home, I'm not there to sell anybody anything. I mean, that's my job is sales, right? But I'm there to help them understand what's going on so they can make an educated decision. I doesn't care what I want. I want them to understand what they have, and then you go from there, because we can get anything, right? We're one of the biggest dealerships in Kinetico in the country, and we can get our hands on anything, but it's not everybody needs everything. Let's handle the problems that you're facing, and for a long-term solution. I mean, Kineticos have a 10-year warranty from the manufacturer, but your typical Kinetico might go 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, they're non-electric. There's no electronics to go bad.
Now, I remember from a group that Trisia and I are in, her explain the Kinetico. So maybe if you explain to the listeners a little bit, like what makes Kinetico so special?
Sure. Yeah. Kinetico is great. Well, they're not electric, so they don't use any electricity to run. They actually use the pressure of your water. So, in my house, I live downtown Brighton here, actually. And if I have a power outage, I do not have to worry about my water. My softener is still going to be running and treating my water and protecting it. It's one less thing I have to deal with at the end of the day. And they're very efficient systems. So there's actually like a 75% salt savings with the Kinetico system. So if you're someone that's going through 4 or 5 bags of salt with your electric system, that gets costly. That adds up. And not only that, but you got to go to the store, you got to buy it, you got to haul it down to your basement. I mean, there's more to it than just that, So making sure that you have something that's working efficiently. I pay for my water. I'm in a city. It's not cheap. Water's not cheap. And I want to make sure that I have the most efficient thing on my water, so it's reducing the amount of water that's even being used. And Mark can probably even go into more details on what makes the Kinetico so amazing. But we were actually one of the first Kinetico dealerships that jumped on board when Kinetico was invented in 1972. And we were actually a Culligan dealer before that. We've been around since 1946 as a water treatment company servicing the community. And when that was invented, we jumped on because the technology and the advancement of that was huge. And it's a great product.
One neat, unique thing about the Kinetico 1 is no power, but it's a twin tank softener. So when one resin tank is online, when that one starts to get exhausted and needs to regenerate, it doesn't have to carry you to 2 o'clock in the morning when nobody's using the water to clean itself. There's a loss of capacity, right? Some people run into hard water before 2 a.m. Some people regenerate too soon because you have to put in a big reserve to get you from 8 a.m. when the meter hits 0 to 2 a.m. when it's going to go clean itself, right? So people start to run into hard water, or they just use too much salt. So that's where the salt efficiency really comes from. It uses 2 resin tanks. So as soon as this one's expired, it'll jump onto the new tank and use clean water from the new tank to wash the dirty tank. So it keeps the thing very clean. None of the internal parts come in contact with, or none of the moving internal parts come in contact with hard water. So that's why you get such a long life. It's only, all the internal components are only seen in soft water. So it's really neat.
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand their system.
Yes.
They don't know what's going on. They don't realize that, hey, I work this shift and I'm taking a shower at this time. Why is the water hard? Well, that could be one of the reasons, And another thing I wanted to ask about is the resin tanks, they have to discharge, right?
Yes.
Where is that supposed to discharge?
That's a $1 million question, right? I mean, the Sewer Association and the Water Quality Association has been doing this since the 60s, right?
Okay.
Like, is it okay to run it into the sewer? Is it okay to put it in your sump pump? Is it okay to put in your septic? What is the right answer?
Right.
Each municipality has different regulations
Wow.
because
Wow.
the contaminants in the Pinckney, like even Brighton, is so high in the water. The salts, the natural salts that are already coming in, and the total, dissolved solids are so high that they don't want the discharge water from the softener with the salts going into their sewer. So they have people use dry wells. So they'll dig a hole outside, fill it with gravel, and that's where the discharge water goes to. It goes back into the ground that way. Kinetico's use a very least amount of salt of any other softener out there per pound for soft water. So, like, for instance, they might use 2 or 4 pounds of salt to clean themselves versus 10 to 12 with a single tank electric.
That's a big difference.
Yep.
If you are putting that into your septic or your sewer or your dry well, it's just a very minimal amount because you don't have to use as much when you have clean water washing a dirty tank.
So another reason to use an expert that knows those differences between the communities, because I would have expected one answer,
Right.
but there isn't one answer.
preferably the sump pump,
Got you.
which goes outside. Now, in Hamburg and Pinckney and stuff like that, they use potassium chloride it's mandatory. Like, hey, I don't want this stuff going into our sewer. Even the ion exchange salts from the regeneration process. I mean, just exchanging hardness for iron or hardness for salt in the resin tank.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want those ion exchange salts even adding up and getting into the sewer system. So, because they have to return this water back into the ground, right? And there's limits on how much sodium, how much chlorides, all this stuff can go back into the state. So they're getting fined. So they're making people use potassium chloride for good reason, which is environmentally friendly. Mm-hmm. This stuff's like $30 a bag. So when you're talking about efficiencies, you definitely want a Kinetico if you have to use potassium chloride because the cost of the regenerate.
Right. So that brings to a good question of your program for salt delivery. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's a great program to have because you have some people, they're getting older. They don't want to go down the stairs. How does that system work?
Well, we have a Conway Club, which people can get. They can purchase a club and get it on a yearly renewal, and you get 25% off of salt delivery, service, anything, filters. So it's an affordable way to make sure that you're getting your system taken care of on a yearly basis. And somebody's always in there bringing salt. We can test the water. Just knowing that, like, people do it with their furnaces or AC. You get a service, right? Same with water treatment. Come give us a call. We'll come out, test the water, and then put you on a program to keep it good.
Okay.
Yeah, and every customer is going to be different based on how many people live in their house. There's a lot of things and how much salt they're going through. And some of our clients don't even have a Kinetico system. So we can even salt delivery for people that have other systems in their house. And, of course, they're going to use different amounts of salts and different time lengths, too. So it's based on each customer and what you kind of use in the time and how often you want delivery. And then our guys come down, bring all your salt down, and fill up your tank for you, too, top it off for you.
Well, that's one of the great parts of it because, again, I've been out to people's houses where we're going through it, and I look in the tank, and there's no salt in the tank, and they say, I was supposed to do something with that?
Yeah, I even get that, right? Like, there's a filter I was supposed to change? They're like, yeah, because it's been on for a couple of years, they haven't lost pressure yet, but it's
exactly
the water quality's really bad. I don't know if it's too soon for this, but Kinetico just came out with a salt monitor that sits on top of your salt tank, and it shoots a laser down at your salt, and it'll tell you when you're 25%. And you can just it's an app on my phone. I can just click on it. It'll tell me where my salt is. But if you don't ever look at that app, it'll send you a text or an email, whatever you prefer, letting you know, like, hey, you're getting critically low. And even though I ran mine all the way down just to watch it, but when it said I was out of salt, I still had 40 pounds in there. So it doesn't let you run out, causing hard water. Right. And we offer those. They just came out, and I just got one at my house. They're pretty neat.
That's awesome because the smart house is so, such a big thing nowadays.
That's where things are
Any
headed.
of those reminders, and in the long run, it's saving you money because it's taking care of your system and it's increasing the longevity of it.
I can put that on any salt tank.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's very, very neat. People love it. I mean, that's one of the promotional, things that we can offer at a time of installations. Hey, would you like this? And sometimes it's a giveaway. We like people to have it. So whatever that takes, and then it just keeps track of it. And
right.
They can get set up on a program. It keeps a history of how many bags every day you've used. I mean, it's really neat. Or how many pounds of salt per day.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And knowing more about your house is really a huge benefit to any given homeowner in terms of being able to take care of it.
Absolutely. And protecting your family.
Yeah.
Right.
Being realtors, you might like this one. We have a leak detection system we offer that Kinetico makes. And at first I'm like, I don't need a leak detection. You'll know when your floor is wet, right? You don't need somebody to tell you.
Yeah.
But you're gone. So it saved my behind quite a few times. I have a grinder pump in the basement. So I have one of these sensors sitting on top of the grinder pump, one on my sump pump, one in the furnace room where my water heater and the furnace is. And each one of those have gone off at one time or another where my sump pump's failed, my grinder pump has failed. It just shuts the water off to the house and it texts you and say, hey,
you've got an issue.
You got an issue.
Wow.
And so it stops immediate damage. So insurance companies will give you, like ours, I just talked to them today actually, up to 1 or 2% off of your insurance bill because of that protection. So one insurance claim, that thing's paid for itself.
Right.
But it stopped sewage water from leaving my grinder pump and going all over the carpet. It shut the water off to the washing machine, so it just stopped the overflow, so I didn't have to worry about carpet cleanup.
Yeah,
that's a nasty job
exactly.
changing a sump pump and those grinder pumps.
That ounce of prevention is huge there because a lot of people, it's not an issue till it's a huge issue, right?
Yes.
Right.
And you can have something like that. It's like, hey, we're going to eliminate. You're still going to have an issue. You're going to have to do something, but now we've eliminated this huge issue.
All the cleanup, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, all that pain point.
Yes.
And a lot of people store all their personal things from childhood or different things in their basement, and you can't replace everything like that. Right. And you want to make sure you're preventing and protecting. And we actually had a client not too long ago who purchased that from us, and she put one up in her bathrooms. And she was filling the tub for her kid and kind of got distracted and forgot. And her alarm went off while she was in the house and was like, what? I forgot to turn off the tub. Oh, no. And sure enough, but she got up there before it caused any damage, before, it just.
She really doesn't even have to. It shuts the water down.
Yeah.
It texts you. So the damage stops. I mean, you might get a little water on the floor, but it's not going to continue. It's a valve that shuts it off on the main, and then it texts you.
Wow.
So it even works if your power goes out. It's it's its own FM communication in the basement.
Fantastic.
So it's a battery operated valve that'll close.
Well, that's a big thing there too, because a lot of people, it's like, oh my, the power went out, and that's when the issues start to occur.
Right. Mm-hmm. And if they're not home, it may not get the text because the power's out, because it communicates through Wi-Fi. But as soon as the power comes on, they'll get a text. But at least that valve shut it off and stays off until you turn it back on. Like I can turn my water on and off right now with my phone sitting here. And it's neat technology. I won't do that because my wife works from home and she can.
So that's what the teenagers in the middle of the shower do.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I had to try it. As soon as she got in the shower, I'm like, wait for it. And it texts her too. So we're both on the alert. So that didn't work very well. But
there you go.
It's funny, but that's great because we didn't even know this was available.
And that's what I do when I come out to a home. I look around. I do a complete plumbing audit. I'll look at sump pumps. I'll look at well tanks. I'll look at all this. Hey, if you have galvanized plumbing on your well tank, you're probably going to have a leak. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of time. Galvanized used to have lead in it to keep the metal iron pipe from rusting. Well, now lead's outlawed, right? You can't have lead in any of your drinking water, right? So the galvanized fittings today might last 5 years, 10 years, and people are still buying and using them from the big box stores, and they're rotting out. And that's a number one insurance claim, is these water damages it rots from the inside out. So you don't even know it's going to leak until it's flooding your house. So I look at all that when I go into the home.
Wow.
Just to educate people. I just want you to know, hey, you may not, put your money in this well tank, get rid of that potential leak, and then, you can do a softener later, whatever. I just want people to understand what's going on.
Right. And again, when you come in to put a system in, you're changing people's quality of life in their house a lot of times, because to have a bad water system in, either pressure issues or, rusting, all those sorts of things, those are huge impacts, on everything from their drinking water to their cooking to doing laundry.
Home Depot, since we do 37 Home Depots, people go and buy new appliances. What's the number one reason people buy a new washing machine, new refrigerator? Because the water quality is destroying them. So people finance hard water. It costs more for them to have this hard water than it does to have a Kinetico system in there with our financing today. It's crazy. It's way cheaper to have good water, enjoy it, drink it. No more hauling jugs back and forth from the grocery store or bottles. You have that little spigot right at your sink and your ice maker. You can't use bottled water to push through your refrigerator, right?
Oh, you
so,
can't?
but I have bottled water come through my refrigerator. You bet. Yeah. So.
Right.
No doubt. Now, one of the things I know that you mentioned that you really wanted to speak to is the heart of your company and the ownership. That that's probably why you guys have been here for so long, right?
Oh yeah, he's Dan Abel is the president and owner of the company, and he's amazing. He has a heart to serve. He has a heart to give. And that's why he allows us to do what we do through the company. Water treatment is what we do, but we get to kind of serve through that revenue. And so we try to be involved in their communities, supporting, sponsoring, volunteering our time. He even offers each one of his employees volunteer time throughout the whole year. He gives every employee 40 hours to go out and fulfill your hearts and serve in your community and make a difference.
Oh.
And you get paid for it.
And you get paid for it.
I've done a few mission trips, and Dan hates taking any credit. I mean, he's a super humble guy, but he'll be mad at me for saying this. But he is how I am a better person. I mean, I learn from him. I mean, he's how I know the Lord. I mean, it's amazing what he does putting back into people. He really cares about the people.
That's the kind of company that you really want to build up and support and work for, right?
Yeah, I've been in every aspect of this business, from managing to even carrying salt and water. I mean, I've done every aspect of it, but it's why I'm still here.
You can stand behind not just the product and the service, but the management.
Yep.
Absolutely, the company behind it and the people that we have working in our company, from everything from the customer service team to our installers to our sales guys to our community relations people. We have some amazing hearts out there in the community just trying to educate, show people who we are as a company and how we can help them. And we're not here to pressure people. We're here to educate and help.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
That's how we run our business as well. Yeah. It's the right way.
And God honors that. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, even if you think like I could get a quick sale or, it's like, if it's not benefiting the client and you doing the right thing, then don't even bother. I'd rather tell somebody, hey, we're not the right fit, or
exactly,
you need a new well, rather than trying to treat it. Whatever it is, I want to be up front. I want people's expectations and their understanding. We even offer people, because of Dan Abel, 90 days to try it. After they make a decision, instead of a 3-day, you get 90 days. If you don't absolutely love this thing, we'll take it back. I mean, it's
right.
Or work on something. You'll find the right application, but it's you may make a decision to buy it, but then you get 90 days to experience it. If you don't love it, we'll take it back.
To feel comfortable with it. They're like, geez, I'm not sure if this is the right fit for me. What great peace of mind that is.
And even when I'm doing a sales test and presentation, I show people this is what your bottled water is versus tap water. And I mean, there's a couple of different ways to show that and let them kind of see what they will have before they purchase.
Right.
Great.
And then you got 90 days to make sure it is everything I said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It keeps people from getting, I mean, I've been in the business a long time, and people want what people want, right? I don't want my will to come on to them, right? And that stops at 90 days. If you don't like it, if you thought you got pressured into it, you totally take it back, and that's a nice, that keeps people honest and keeps people working hard. And
right.
The referrals, I mean, most of my business comes from referrals.
And you're standing behind your product.
Yeah.
I mean, that you're giving them the right thing and that you're improving the quality of that water, that they're not going to be coming back and say, hey, take the system, because you're not trying to sell them something they don't need. It's something that is going to be the benefit that they're looking for. I want something that, and coming from the top, we want to set ourselves apart from everybody else, and that's serving. It's this girl right here serves like no other. I mean, she goes out in the community. I mean, we do all kinds of events and just giving.
The walk to NDLZ we just did. And that was awesome to see that.
I mean, to take water to different places just so people have it. I mean, donations like crazy. I mean, it's little things that we can do that change the world. So.
that kind of leads me into one of my favorite questions I always love asking all of our guests is, what do you like best about Livingston?
Oh, the community is so supportive here and so amazing. They jump in every aspect they can to make a difference in people's lives and show support in other ways, and I was born and raised in Livingston County, and so my heart is definitely here, and went to high school here, graduated at the Brighton High, but as an adult to witness what really takes place within the community and all these people between the chambers and all these different businesses that come together and support each other, and it's just, it warms my heart. It fills my heart. And that's why I'm so blessed to be at the company I am, because they encourage that. They're like, go be part of that. Go get involved. Even if it doesn't have anything to do with water treatment. If it's just me volunteering my time, go do that. So it's
really special.
I love Livingston County. Amazing people, amazing companies, and just hearts for days. I just couldn't say enough.
Same thing. I haven't lived here my whole life, but I've been here a long time, since 2003, and I've done service. I've been on most of the homes, all surrounding areas. It's one of my favorite. I used to do service out east, and out in Oakland County, and not against them, but the traffic trying to get out there and back, but it's just, we do like the bark at the park, and just seeing everybody bring their dog. I mean, we get to bless their dogs with water. We donated the water for that, and just doing stuff like that is just fun. You get to see it. We do. I have that old truck. I'll go to car shows and stuff around here, and just you get to meet people, and it's just people really are awesome out here. I don't know how else to explain it.
Big hearts.
Big hearts. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep. So I guess the last thing we wanted to say is, how do people get in contact with you guys? They want their water tested. Maybe they want to sign up for salt, or even if they need a plumber. How do they find you?
The best way to serve them, I think, is to call me personally. I can through that conversation, figure out what's their best course of action. I had a lady today text me and say, hey, I've got odor coming out of our basement area. Every time we flush a toilet, there's a grinder pump down there, and they're getting odor in the air. So I said, can you send me some pictures of the grinder pump installation? I want to check for a vent pipe, because sewage water goes into that crock, and if it doesn't vent the air out, then it pushes it out of the cap area, and the basement stinks like sewage. So we figured out her vent's probably plugged up on top of the roof, and I was able to solve that over the phone, and she's going to have her husband check that out. But if not, we can have our next step is I can have the plumber come out. So if they're dealing with one person, I can kind of guide them the right way. So my cell phone, I don't mind. I mean, if I don't answer it right away, I'll call you right back. And I love that, because I get at least direct them. They just need salt delivery. Okay, let me have you get in touch. I'll have the office give you a call when they sit down with them and figure out a schedule date. It works out really well just to go through me.
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
And with him being around for so long, if he doesn't know the answer, I don't know who does. Like, he's my go-to guy. Like, he's amazing. And Mark has a heart of gold and a heart to serve, and we are very blessed and lucky to have him on this team. And if you need something, have a question, he is definitely the go-to person.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so after this podcast, we can put my cell phone number out there and email or something like that.
We'll have it on the show notes for all of our listeners, and
then,
check those out there. And
and I know I checked out your guys' website as well. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. So
yeah,
it gets a little overwhelming. People looking at online equipment, and they're just like, but I can help sort through that. We can even install your water softener. So if you buy one that you like from your research and you just want somebody to install it, we come out and install it for you. So we're not... We don't care whose it is.
You're a great resource. You guys know what you're doing.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for coming today. We really appreciate it. And I would say to everyone out there to check you guys out. If you as they said, you need to get your water tested periodically. So don't just think that what's coming out of the faucet is crystal clear. If it hasn't been checked in a while, it probably needs to be checked. Check out our other episodes. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts.
Absolutely.
Yes, and thank you so much for having us. This has been a blessing and amazing, and I look forward to checking out the rest of your podcast.
Thanks. Great.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys.
It's really my pleasure. I enjoy meeting you guys and doing this.
Oh, thank you so much. And
welcome to Livingston.